What's up, YouTube? Got another knife review here for you. Today we are going to be looking at the Brian Tighe. This is the custom Nirk Tighe. I know a lot of you maybe have seen or own CRKT, Columbia River Knife and Tools version, the Nirk Tighe. This being the custom version, there are a number of differences from this one to the CRKT production version. I'll go over that in a little bit if I don't forget. Brian Tighe is a well-known custom maker, custom and CNC maker, I guess, if you will. I would consider him a custom maker. But similar to, I guess, no, he definitely does a lot of custom work. He does custom grinds every once in a while. But you know, he definitely has a lot of influence on some other Canadian makers. I think maybe to my knowledge, most notably someone like John Grimsmo. I believe John Grimsmo got a lot of pointers from him, from Brian Tighe. I don't know if they live in close proximity or what, but you know, Brian Tighe has been at this craft for quite some time, so a lot of experience. Under his belt, and he's got so many different knife styles, knife models. I can't think of all the ones, but basically he uses his last name in all, most, if not all of them, most of his knife models. So you have things like Tycoon, Typhoon, Tirade. This one again, the Nirk Tighe. And so it's pretty clever. But the reason that he named this one the Nirk Tighe is apparently he worked, this is kind of a collaboration between him and Glenn Klecker. I don't know too much about Glenn Klecker, but he's the one who came up with the locking mechanism on this knife. For me, I am a total frame lock guy. I love titanium frame lock. And for me, I was always like, man, the backlock, not the backlock is not gimmicky. It works for sure. But I've never been one, or I've never been a fan of the backlock. But this knife came up, and I've always had my eye on it, and it's such an eccentric knife. You see all the skeletonizing of this handle, and it's completely like see-through. It just reminds me of those, watches that have the clear back, so you can see all the gears. You can kind of see everything that's going on in the watch, and this is kind of like that. It's, everything is see-through. This is full titanium, so getting into a little bit of the differences between, this version and the CRKT version. First off is going to be the steel. The steel on these knives, the customs are going to be, a higher end steel. So either RLW 34 or this one is BG42 steel. Whereas the CRKT ones are either like AUS 8 or it's not going to be 8CR13, so I think it's either AUS 8 or 440C, but I think AUS 8 is the correct one. And then, the CRKT one is all steel construction, and then this one is all titanium construction. So this is all electro-anodized around the frame, and then it is polished, satin polished, all on the flats and on the back and whatnot. So when you look underneath, inside, it's all anodized, this blue color. I've seen some that are anodized in green and purple as well. So it's really, really cool finish on this knife. For the clip, he just uses a standard steel clip, but it is polished so that it looks like it blends perfectly with the titanium. I wish he used titanium clips on here, but beggars can't be choosers. I guess you're not really beggars when you're doing custom knives here. But this is flipper. Brian Tighe is pretty well known for his flippers, and usually they are with button lock. And so I've had my eye on a couple of other models where he's got the button lock flipper, because I heard they flip pretty well. And so I was kind of interested in how this would flip. The Klecker lock, basically, a back lock, has a kind of a bar insert, and then, you have a back lock here where you push it, and then it opens up the locking mechanism so that you can, you know, or put your blade back in the frame. The Klecker lock, you need it. Basically, the way it works, you can see. Should maybe show it from this side because the clip is in the way. Basically, you guys know that titanium has a lot of tension on it, and it has a lot of. It's got memory in terms of where it's placed, and so all of this is cut out, skeletonized, and there's nothing that is holding on to this piece save for this bar right here. And so this bar basically provides all the tension that goes into the lock here. And so then in here you have you have two pins, if you can see it from here. So you have this top pin right here, which I believe serves as a blade stop when it's closed. And then there's another pin right inside there. Hopefully you can see it. Here, how about this? So if I open it up here, now you can see the two pins inside that Klecker lock. Okay, so when the blade, this is where the lock engages. When that blade goes in, you can see it clearing that little spot right there, goes in, that pin falls in, and then that Klecker lock engages. When you have your hand around this knife, basically kind of like a frame lock, when you open up this frame lock, when you're gripped in here, you're actually putting more pressure on the frame lock so that it's even more secure and won't fail. Similarly, with this Klecker lock, for a lock back, most likely, when you're squeezing it, you won't be able to push hard enough where it would disengage. I think, for Spyderco, they do the David Boy back lock, so it has a little bit of a depression in there so that it's even harder for you to maybe accidentally engage that lock. For the Klecker lock, you can see, like, if it's engaged in there, when I press in, you'll see this bar go even lower in there, and it kind of sits in that lock even better. So it's even more of a secure lockup. There is no play whatsoever in this knife, side to side or up and down. And the only way to leverage this knife, I mean, you cannot like squeeze the back of your palm here enough to disengage this blade. I mean, you have to crush it, and even then, you're not going to be able to leverage it. You have to come down and use torque, if you will, and leverage to release this. I can do this with one hand and just let the weight of the blade close it, So you can do one-handed and opening and closing if you want to, but it's it's pretty hard. So I thought it wouldn't be as fun to play with, but I actually really like this knife. I like the mechanism. It's extremely comfortable. This knife is a 4-inch blade, and I think it weighs just over 4 ounces, about little under 4.5 ounces, which is insane when you think about how heavy some of these knives are. The Sebenza, I believe, is 5. It's been so long since I've measured the Sebenza. The Sebenza is 4.5. So it's the same. It's the same weight essentially, a little bit lighter than a Sebenza. And but you look how much bigger it is compared to the Sebenza. You get much more blade, same blade thickness. You get this huge frame, ergonomic frame, but because so much is cut out in here, it's actually lighter than a Sebenza. One of the other differences between this and the production Nirk Tighe is the fluting that you see. This is all done by a CNC machine. Some people hate the fluting on these knives. I love it. I think it adds so much character. I love the fluting on the Grimsmo Norseman. How the CNC machine puts all these lines in here. I mean, for a knife like this, I think it's undeniable how beautiful that fluting is. I mean, it just curves, it just flows along the lines of the blade, sweeps along the edge, this nice recurve edge on here. You got more weights cut off through this hole here. I mean, you can even use that hole to deploy the blade, without the flipper if you really want to. But inside it is pretty sharp, and you can kind of see, I don't know why it is darkened like that. And when you look at how it's shining here inside here, I wish he would have polished that out, but it's just dark, and I'm not sure if it's from the heat of cutting that out or what. But there's Brian Tighe's signature for his knife as well. So inside here you got his custom pivot screws here, which is a nice little touch. And then inside he's got a proprietary bearing system as well. I'm not sure, I've never taken this apart, so I'm not sure what those bearings actually look like. But this is it's a really eccentric knife. I kind of pulled out some of my other eccentric knives. The whale shark I feel like is a little bit, I mean, I love the whale shark, but it's got these curves that make it a little bit eccentric. The Kingdom Armory Samaritan right here that I have yet to review, also kind of an eccentric knife. I mean, I feel like these knives are just beautiful. They're not just art knives, but they're also very functional. I haven't used this one too much. I've carried it a number of times, and I do plan to keep this one. The other thing about Brian Tighe knives is that you can find them for pretty reasonable prices. Even if you get them directly from the dealers, they're maybe just north of $500. But oftentimes, you can find them quite easily. And I think Brian, you can order, I believe, directly from him and put it in a custom order. And I don't think his books are closed even now, So he's always available. Maybe because he does things on CNC in his own shop, that he's able to kind of just pump out inventory relatively easily. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that his work is cheap or whatever. It's not as rare as, say, some of these other makers like Michael Birch or Lucas Burnley, or I'm just throwing out some random ones that I'm thinking about. So the fact that it's readily available allows for these moderate to cheaper prices in the custom world. So but yeah, I love this knife. It's not one that you would think that I would have, but it's different, and I think that's what I like about it. I like having a little bit of that variation, but it's not too far from what I would like: titanium and anodization, good steel, and just the overall well-constructed knife. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the Brian Tighe Nirk Tighe. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. As always, it's just thanks for watching my videos. Please do subscribe, like, comment, and I will see you guys on the next vid. Take care. Bye.